Hi everybody, welcome to the Finance This Property That podcast. My name is Dion Fernandez and I am a mortgage planner and finance professional. My goal is to empower financial legacies for generations, and I look to do this by using my over 13 years experience in finance and having special guest speakers like financial planners, accountants, buyer's agents, family lawyers who are experts in their field to provide knowledge and free education. And without further ado, let's get into our episode today. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Finance This Property That, continuing with our theme of how I help my ideal clients. As you all know, around about 90 to 95% of you are actually self-employed. What I really want to go through with you today is around self-employed and how to get deals approved faster. Now, to help you do that, your number one teammate in this journey is your accountant. Today, I have a very special guest, Meg from Third Space Accountants, who is going to have a little chit chat with me around a few things. And off the back of today, we're going to give you a very high level overview on what banks look for, how to present the best case, why your accountant will be your best friend. And they're never always going to say yes all the time. And we'll use an example of an industry like the construction industry, where we know income is quite lumpy and it goes up and down. But so does every business. But yeah, let's just talk about construction because I think that's Meg's jam.
Yep.
But Meg,
thank you. Hello.
Thank you for coming.
No.
I know you're very busy. It's this time of year.
That's all right. We're all busy. It's all good.
It's like tax planning time, isn't it?
Yeah. No, we've just started tax planning, which is always fun.
Awesome. So Third Space, tell us a little bit about you.
Yep.
How long you've had your own business, because you're self-employed too.
Yes.
And something people don't know about you.
Okay. So we're Third Space Accountants. We're based on north side of Brisbane. We have in our business advisory, accounting, and then bookkeeping arm. So the goal is to kind of be able to service like multiple components to a business client for us. I have been in business for coming up to 4 years now. So it's I feel like we've kind of passed some of those like initial hurdles, and now we're like in just a second stage of growth mode, which has been good. We've had a big sort of 6-12 months of growth and building out our team at the moment, which is really, really exciting. And something people don't know about me, originally I'm from the UK. So we moved here when I was 7, pretty much Australian, I suppose, in terms of, no one would ever say I have an English accent anymore. But yeah, so that's me.
Pretty similar. Like I was born in India, but we moved to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I lived in New Zealand from like 1989 till 2005.
Yeah. I feel like there's an age apparently where if you move somewhere, I don't know what the age is, but if you move somewhere after, say, the age of 12, you will keep your accent and like so many more, I guess, memories and stuff. Whereas if you're pre whatever that age is, you just adapt, I think, so quickly to the new place that you've moved to, and all your previous habits and accents and anything is out the window.
Yeah, you pick things up and you can adapt to change a lot quicker when you're younger.
Yeah, for sure.
It's harder when your brain's a little bit more developed.
Yeah.
Well, no, obviously speaking of change, is like, lots of changes in the world of self-employed and running a business, and when people trying to get loans and things like that. Now, with your line of work, what do you love? I know a lot of accountants like to do or deal with certain types of clients. Now, what is one of your favorite types of clients or industries to deal with? I like
all industries. It's more about, I guess, where the person's at in their business journey that is what makes it exciting for us. Yeah. Clients that are in growth mode, especially a lot of new business owners, where you can work with them, educate them, really kind of help them through that period of, starting a new business and learning a lot of stuff that they need to know.
Yep.
That's what makes it enjoyable. We do a lot of stuff in construction space. Obviously, you touched on that before. And I have had a bit of a background in like QBCC reporting and minimum financial requirements and stuff. So I think that just kind of comes a bit naturally because I've got experience there. But all industries are, as long as the business owner is willing to learn and listen and take on advice and kind of work with us, that's what makes it enjoyable.
Sounds very similar to my industry.
Yeah.
Where you cross the whole journey, but some like myself and Luke who works in our business as well, he loves the journey right at the beginning. Loves the first home buyer space, where I love the first home buyer space, but my jam is really that, you're a professional, you're doctor, lawyer, accountant, you're self-employed, and you want to be invested. Like, you pretty much get the trifecta. Most of my clients are like that as well. So, trying to, I guess, guide them through that journey as well. And talk a lot about having the right team.
Yes, absolutely. It's crucial.
I think I'll say this forever and ever, having the right team and starting talks early as opposed to, being prepared.
Yeah.
So you can actually systematically make the changes and take more on or take less on. And when we say talk about the team, an accountant is for a self-employed person or business or borrower. It is the one.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have a good accountant.
Yeah. People use the connotation of, it's like when you go to the doctor and you see a GP, and then they kind of see what's going on and they go, right, you need to go and speak to the eye specialist, and you need to go speak into the, go and get an x-ray for this or that. Accountants are sort of a similar thing where for your business, you go to them first. And that's, part of our job is we have to train the clients to kind of recognize that and go, I need to call my accountant whenever anything pops up. Yeah. And then our job is to make sure that we have all of that network for them to be able to refer them to the right person.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest issues around, or the one thing that banks look at the first way, is around the consistency of the income around self-employed, right? If you're, and that's why there's that hidden rule of, have you been self-employed for 2 years? Because they want to see what you're doing over 2 years. Yeah. 2 years is sometimes good and bad, because if
it's a long time.
It's a long time between drinks, right? And I'm not saying there's no other solutions if you've not been self-employed for 2 years, but we obviously like to, as a being self-employed specialist, I like to understand what your business does.
Yep.
I always look at, can you articulate exactly what you do, how you get your business? I'm sort of like interviewing you, right? How you get your business and where. What's your action plan to keep business coming in, stay consistent? What the contingencies if something happens to you?
Yep.
What liabilities you take on? Because being in business myself, you can, if you're good at your job, you can grow very fast.
Well, you could have someone that's been in business for 3 months and they're super well organized. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got a really good plan. They've got their numbers sorted. And you got the next person who's been in business for 2 years but has not done any of those things. But just because they've been registered for 2 years, all of a sudden they get access to lending maybe, whereas the guy who's been in business for 3 months but has been doing it properly and well structured, he misses out. It's a old school kind of way of doing it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And this is where the accountant comes in. So, how do you... Let's start the journey right at the beginning. New to business, new to self-employed. And how do you guide that conversation as what actions do you need to do? What do you need to be on top of? So how do you guide your client?
One of the number one things for us that we kind of focus on is the structuring. To understand what the plan is. You have to look forward all the time. And I think historically the accounting industry has been a backwards facing industry, but to actually give the client a good outcome, you need to be looking forward, not just for a few months, but what do you want to do long term with this business? And if they go, I want to build it up and then I want to sell it, or I'm going to pass it down to my kids, or whatever it is, that's going to dictate a lot of how you set things up from the start. Because if you go ahead and just set up a sole trader, everyone knows you jump online, get an ABN tonight, and then you could be up and running business tomorrow morning. But is that going to cause you more problems 6 months, 12 months later? So the structuring is kind of one of the big things that we focus on. And then it's really just getting them to understand what their obligations are going to be, lodgements and tax and all that kind of stuff moving forward, and cash flow to understand how to manage their cash flow, how to understand what the costs are for them to run their business. And you can make this stuff really simple because at the start, you don't really, a lot of people are like, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, let's just work with what we do know. And something is better than nothing most of the time. So
got to start somewhere.
you got to start somewhere, and then you just have to get yourself in that habit of reviewing it and updating it on a regular basis and just keeping on top of that, your numbers, where your cash is at, and, asking the accountant questions and stuff as you go.
And I can tell you what you were just saying, talking about over here, like 3, 4, 5 steps down the track. That's how because I do debt structure and strategy, I have to think that way as well. So I'm glad that, when I'm partnering up with accountants and things like that, hopefully I would expect them to think that way as well. But I don't think half the time, by the time someone actually gets to an accountant, they've already started doing the thing like sole trader.
that does happen a lot. I guess it depends how far in they've got. And some industries are worse, not worse, difficult to restructure. Other industries you can kind of restructure it straight away. Like if you've started a business, you've gone out and you've spent, $100,000, you've got a couple of cars on loans, bought all this equipment. For you to then restructure that into, a company or a trust or something that's going to work better, you've kind of created a bit of a problem there because you've now got loans that are attached to something else. So it's worth the 1 hour to talk to an accountant before you do it, just to go, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Because a lot of the time I will say to people, all right, go ahead and do the sole trader thing for 6 months. Make sure that there's a market for what you're trying to do. Make sure that it's what you want to do before you go and spend, thousands of dollars on all this structure setup stuff. But at least then you've got the advice and you know that there's a plan still in place. And then you can kind of work towards it from there. And
I just want to also clear up something from a policy point of view. If you do change structures, that does not kick you out. You don't restart. Well, you technically don't restart your 2 years again, because I've actually had clients that have changed structure halfway through. They were self-employed for 12 months and then changed to a company structure for another 12 months. I still have 2 years worth of financials. Yeah. There's a good explanation.
You've got that continuity there.
Correct. And it's the same industry. It's even if you're new to self-employed, if you've actually been in that industry and we can show history. I've worked with clients, and this is not going to second-tier banks or anything. This is going to big banks. And just showing them, working with the BDM, going, hey, actually, here's they've only had 6 months, but here's the 6 months. Cool. And here's the last 3 years of personals in the same industry with the same employer. They've actually gone and done this. Now they're contracting through an ABN, or they're doing this through an ABN. We got the deal approved.
It's the story for you guys, right? It's about understanding the client's history and what they've done to tell that story. Whereas if you're just sending paperwork off to the bank and they're just looking at it, they don't know. They've got no idea.
You'll be surprised how many brokers will actually send just the deal down. No notes, no nothing. I actually get commented by the BDMs going, oh, you've actually sent a lot of commentary down. Like, I go, I just want to make it hard for you to say no. Yeah,
exactly. I'm doing my job.
At least work out. Let's work out a way to, if if it is on the fence, hey, at least you know that I haven't sent a deal up that I don't believe in. Not just ticking numbers. Back to the point with that particular client, I just had to work with the accountant because obviously, being PAYG, there were no expenses in the business. All they came back with is, hey, can you help us understand the expenses? Can you get an accountant to give us a 6 months worth of expenses? Give us a profit and loss or interim profit and loss for 6 months. Done. I mean, he's sole trader. There wasn't a lot of expenses that he could do anyway. And then we just ended up doing, I think, the average of the last 3 years because his new income was actually more. Got him the deal. And this was a complex debt structure. Like their debt structure was 4 properties, quite highly leveraged, not highly leveraged, but at 80%, 3 investments, 2 investments, 1 owner occ, and they wanted to purchase another one. It worked.
Well, it's solutions based, right? Solutions. I always say to my team, like, we're in an industry where we have to provide solutions to the client. Doesn't really matter how you guys get there, like figure it out, because there's always a solution. Even if sometimes it's not what the client wants, even if we can get halfway there and go, right, well, this is what you want, this is kind of where we're at, let's try and get somewhere in the middle and come up with a solution that's going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's, you got to just focus on that all the time.
100%. Otherwise, you just, why they're paying you.
Yeah.
Your job is to, well, I don't think, I think the common job of the accountant is to like make the minimize tax, but I don't think
Yeah, and obviously we've got tax legislation to work with, right? But it's not a hard and fast, okay, well, client wants to do this, tax legislation says that. It's just roadblocks. Because if we're just roadblocking the client over and over and over again, no one wins.
Yeah.
You know, client's unhappy. We're sort of sitting there like, well, we're not really doing what we're supposed to be doing because it's just hit a roadblock. You got to work with it. Same way you guys have got, all the banks have got their own regulation. It's still around, well, what's the best solution? How are we going to work around this?
Yeah, and it's getting, you know, there's a difference between just a standard broker or someone in a bank that can only do one product, one policy. Brokers got many different policies, but even though every broker's got almost the same amount of policies, each broker will differ. Yeah. Because it's about understanding that policy, knowing where to go, doing the extra bit of research, having a team. So I've got my own credit analyst. I can just go, hey, we might need to research this, this, and this. Can you research it? I know the banks that'll do this, this, and this. This policy, can you research this policy, research that, come back to me within 24 hours with a thing, and then we can go through it together. 100%, and that's moves things quicker.
Yeah.
You know, banks want to see, like I said, consistency, right? They want to see you making profit.
Yep.
Do get the occasional client going, but I don't want to pay tax.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I appreciate that. But then if you're not paying tax, are you actually making money? Are you making money or are you spending the money?
That's exactly right. What is the goal ultimately? You have to understand, the client has to tell you what the goal is, and the goal can change obviously every 6-12 months. But we're coming into end of 2025 financial year and we're doing our tax planning meetings. The first conversation that happens in those meetings is like, what do you want to do for the next 6 or 12 months? If the client then says, oh, we need to buy an investment property or we need to buy another house or whatever, that is then the goal. So if you want to pay no tax, but also you need to be buying a bigger house because your family's grown or whatever, you can't, you're not going to be able to have both. But once you've got the house, next year, if the goal is now, okay, well, I want to minimize my tax because we don't need to borrow any more money from the bank for a few years, cool, we can look at that. And then we can look at maybe putting money into your super fund and doing other things. But it's definitely sometimes a bit of a reality check for people that if you want to be borrowing money from the bank, you need to be showing to the bank that you're making money so that you can make those repayments. Yep. It's impossible otherwise, right?
Well, I mean, there's different ways to do it. So obviously with the full doc, we need to be showing that you're making money. Even with alt doc though, so low doc, alt doc, whichever, right? We can use BAS and customer declaration and accountant's letter. Now, I hate asking accountants, not hate, it's a necessity sometimes. Yeah. But asking an accountant for letter because you guys have so much legislation behind you anyway, or so not so much, more the rules from your income. Sorry, not your income, your liability insurer.
Yeah, it's the like licensing and the risk kind of component with it. You know, ultimately, we're then signing a piece of paper that backs up your loan, and I have no control over whether you can make your repayments or not. Yeah,
I'm going to asterisk that because I'm going to come back to that in a sec. Yeah. Because, no, I get it. And you know, there'll be a lot of clients that'll just declare the income and there'll be brokers that just go, oh, yeah, cool. Just sign here and just get your accountant to sign it. Yeah. And they'll lodge the application. The banks do an accountant verification. Yeah. They literally ring the accountant and ask them, 1, did you write the letter? 2, is the income, did you know that they declared X amount of income and is that taxable? Yeah. 3, has anything changed in their situation since you signed that letter? they'll ask them other questions again if they're
Yeah.
a bit iffy, mate. Like if because I've just recently done an alt doc for a client, but I clearly articulated how I've come up with the income because I've seen the financials, I saw the BAS.
Yeah.
I go, here it is. This is what we're doing. Can't do it this way because of this way, but I know the money's there. This is how we've got it to come to it. I've ticked off all my compliance requirements.
Yeah.
Because I have compliance requirements. But the client forgot to pass on the information to the accountant. The accountant still signed the document. Lender rings up. It's like, oh, I can't verify that.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, you can. You did the BAS.
Yeah.
You've literally got the BAS there. But he didn't understand how I'd come up with it. So again, it's educating. And my email was very clear.
Yeah.
It's like you need, in bold, you must send the below to the accountant. Please. Anyway, so we're fixing that now because now the accountant actually knows how I came up with it.
How
He
you
goes-
do it.
He
Yeah.
goes, oh, well, that's clear. It's like, because I picked up the phone and go, hey, here's the email. Here's the
I mean,
evidence.
that's the thing though. Like, I would say over half of the accountant's letters that we get requested for, we talk to the client, we talk to the broker, we talk to whoever we need to, and it's fine. And we just have to understand what are you trying to do and what does the letter need to say? Because what the issue is sometimes we get emailed these copied and pasted, like, can you put this on a letter and just sign it? It's like, hold on, I need to understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
But if it's all stacking up, there's no reason. The only time accountants will say we're not going to sign the letter is if the numbers don't make sense.
Yeah. You've declared $1 million, but your BAS is only saying you're going to get 200.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
How did you do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the lenders now have actually cotton on to the fact that, maybe our letters need to change. The lender that I just used, I'll tell, it was like Red Z have a great accountant's letter.
Yeah.
At the bottom, it's actually got a disclaimer saying this is in good faith. You are actually not verifying their,
Yeah.
It's got a very clear disclaimer.
Yep.
And it's saying it's only valid for 90 days. Think Tank do the same thing because they realize, well, this is our niche. We actually need to de-risk.
Yep.
If we're saying that this is a policy, like we're going to say this is a verification, we want to make sure that the accountants are protected as well.
Yep. Yep.
Hence why I go, well, I know. And even another old doc lender like Latrobe, their letter is
Or
that's a
I don't know if I can say this, but theirs is the worst letter I've ever seen. It's insane.
Yeah.
I've never signed one of those letters.
Well, I've actually had this conversation with them as well, and I said, well, can
Because they won't let us change the wording of it, and the way it's worded is wrong, always.
Yeah.
And I said, look, we can say this because this is kind of what you're trying to get at, but it's the wording is just technically correct. And they knock them back all the time.
What I have found though is that you can add to the bottom of it. You can't change the first 10, but you can add extra lines to it.
Yeah.
To cover you.
Yeah.
And that's what I've actually talked to Credit about that, and I've actually talked to my BDM about that, and they're like, yeah, as long as you don't change our letter, you can add
whatever you want to the bottom. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
So, yeah, and it has actually eased and alleviated that pressure from the accountants when we need to use someone like a Latrobe.
Yeah.
But again, I don't like to use AltDoc unless it's the last option.
Yeah.
Because I look at it going, well, let's just see the financials. Want to understand your business. All right? Tell me about how's it actually going? Looking at historical. So right now, we can look 23. Hopefully most people have done 24s.
Yep.
And now we've at least got 6 months BAS for 25.
Yep.
So I've got a good history of 3 years to understand how it's going. And when I say you're surrounding yourself with the team's not full of yes people.
No. You want the opposite.
Yeah.
You want people to challenge everything that you're doing and go, hold on, why are we doing it like this? Is there another way? Is there a better way? Otherwise, you're just going to, I don't know, you're going to end up in a sticky situation at some point, I reckon. Yeah.
Well, it goes back to your what's the goal?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? Okay, well, if that's what you want to achieve, maybe we need to do this. Because, the one thing is you still have to earn income. In order to build a portfolio, your income can't be the same. Cost of living.
Well, a lot of business owners, a lot of people in general always say, I'm not driven by money. And I can understand that, but I always say to them, well, it's not you don't need to be driven by money, but you need to make money to be able to then do all the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
It's just a tool, because if you're in business and you're in business solely for passion, which is great because you do need to be passionate about it, but you need to be passionate about it and you need to make money. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do any of the things, even like people that are running like charity stuff. At the end of the day, you still need to be making money, because if you want to, the whole purpose of, say, your charity is to give back to whoever the demographic is, but you need to be making money to then do that.
Yep.
And business is the exact same. Like if you want to grow the team and you want to be able to give people jobs and you want to be able to, do whatever you're trying to do, you have to be profitable and you have to make money. That has to come first, and then all the other stuff comes later.
I agree. And it's just like rental properties, right? You can't just not put the rent, like just because they're good tenants.
Yeah.
You got to treat it like a business as well, because it is. It's the investment, right? So I guess, when it comes down to presenting clients' financials to the bank, right? Now we want to talk, about being consistent. And let's say for the construction industry, right?
Yeah.
How do you go when it's so lumpy?
Yeah.
How does someone like yourself help that particular business and that client present the best financials, or at least give them understanding?
Yeah. I think specifically for construction, one of the things that I've found over the years is work in progress. A lot of builders and guys that work in trades and construction industries don't know what their work in progress value is. And that is what makes it lumpy, because you've got revenue, which is how much did you actually invoice out in that month. And that is all over the place, because they do big progress payments and then they might not do a progress payment for 2 months. And so there's barely any income coming in. There's a massive progress payment again. But your work in progress value is essentially to counteract that and cover off what are you spending on labor and what are you spending on materials in that month that is going to be invoiced but hasn't yet been invoiced. And if you do not record that anywhere, often you're going to have quarter one, you made $100,000. Quarter two, you lost $5,000. Quarter three, you made $200,000, all over the place. But the work in progress value, the same way that if a shop would be recording their inventory on hand at the end of each month and having a system to calculate that number, I think is the difficult part for some of these guys, but it's something that they can work out, whether it's even just in a spreadsheet. It will give them the consistency across the data, because if you've got lumpy data, you can't really help them. But also from us trying to understand where's your business at, we have no idea, because the accounts will show one thing, but then when you talk to the business owner, they're like, oh, no, because we've done this job, we just haven't invoiced it yet. So, okay, so there's stuff here that is not reflecting in your financial reports. And that's the missing bit. Like, you need to get your financial reports to reflect actually what's going on out on your job sites and stuff. Then you're going to get way more accurate data, and it will eliminate some of this lumpiness.
Yeah, because on Xero, you can obviously send the invoices out. Like, you can set the invoices up on Xero and say, due date's here.
Yep.
Right, and then that's in your system, right?
Yep.
And then there's a cash and accrual method as well, so that you can just toggle them on and off, and that's the easiest way that I've found.
Yep.
I mean, for myself, it's a little bit harder because it's only monthly. It's hard to predict.
Yes. Yep.
It's all different. But for someone that's, invoicing jobs, quoting on jobs, all that sort of stuff, pretty easy. You do have to be very diligent, and sometimes I can be lazy as well.
And it's hard, like, especially when you're at the start of business in trades and construction. A lot of the time, the owner of the business is the guy with the trade and has, started the business, and they are on the tools at the start. So they're not then able to sit in the office all day and do the numbers and keep all the, Xero file up to date and stuff. But it's important, because if you want to start taking on bigger jobs, you need to make sure you're knowing what your cash position is at and knowing what margins you're making on stuff. Because, everyone has seen so many construction companies go under because they quote one bad job and it just like closes them down overnight.
And that's been decimated.
It's brutal, but you got to be across it.
Well, one thing that I could suggest as well, and I've had to learn this quite early. Well, not learn this quite early. You're self-employed. You don't have set hours.
Yeah.
You need to make the time to do it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes will just get on the computer on Sunday for an hour, couple of hours, just make sure it's up to date.
Yeah.
What am I looking at? And I look at a couple of things. Obviously, look at my Xero, do that stuff. Have I missed what's outstanding or what's coming up?
Yeah.
All right, got a plan. Okay, what's next week? So look at my calendar for next week, the week after. Okay, what? And just plan your week, plan your month, not only in the finances,
everything.
your business as well.
Yeah.
It just makes it, you're just taking that hour to 2 hours and there's no distraction. You can have the TV on in the background or
100%.
something like that.
Yeah. I think it's about doing it on a regular basis. That's what makes it make a difference.
Yeah.
If you leave that stuff, it piles up really quick.
Because I could tell you, if we presented a deal like that where they hadn't, give me the profit and loss, and you've just, interim profit and loss, we've got this, but we need the interim profit and loss to support.
Yeah.
Hang on a sec.
Just looks an absolute
you've
shambles.
You've only made $10,000 and you're making a negative, but you haven't put in all that other stuff and you're actually up a lot more.
It makes a huge difference. And these guys have got requirements for their builder's license as well.
Right.
And that is based on their financial position. So if you do not meet your financial requirements from an asset position, and QBCC could come any day and just be like, you're meeting your requirements and you're shut down.
What do you mean by
so they have to have a minimum asset value, which is made up of cash in the bank, what they're owed from clients, their work in progress goes into that, and it's called net tangible assets. What that number is dictates what they're allowed to do in revenue. And so if you want to take on big jobs, you might have to have $400,000 of a net asset position, and then QBCC will say, yep, you're allowed to do $10 million a year in revenue. And that is how the whole system in Queensland is managed. Yeah. And you then have to submit to them full set of financial statements that we have to sign off on to substantiate that asset position is true and correct.
Sounds like the ASX, but not.
Yeah. A lot less hectic than the ASX, but it's not. I think a lot of guys don't treat it as serious as they should because it's not regularly monitored by QBCC, but it could be at any point in time. It's like ATO, they just took their foot off the gas for the last, 5 years or something with all the COVID stuff, and they weren't chasing really anyone up on lodgements or debt or whatever. Just this year, they have been so aggressive all of a sudden. They've been chasing everyone's debt up. They're sending stuff to debt collectors, a week in, and they're changing people's lodgement cycle if they're not keeping on top of their stuff. So it's, it's risky if you're like sort of going, who cares? They're not going to look at it.
The quarterly BAS change to monthly? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, far out.
So if you have a bad track record, they're just saying, okay, well now you have to lodge and pay us more frequently. And I think a lot of other industries will start kind of going down the same road.
That'll wreck your cash flow too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's brutal. Right now, if you are on a quarterly GST cycle, you finish the quarter and then your BAS is, for most people, if they're with an accountant, is due 2 months later. So you basically have, from the day you could earn income to the day you have to pay that GST to the ATO is 5 months. But if they switch everyone to monthly that haven't been keeping on top of the lodgements and payments, you're not going to get that anymore. You're going to be paying it every month.
Wow. So if it's paid monthly, do you still have 2 months to pay it afterwards?
Yeah, 1 to 2 months, depending on what the due dates are going to be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, hang on a sec. So if you've just done quarter, let's say you finished quarter, what are we at? Quarter two. You finished quarter two.
Yep.
Right, you've got till the end of February to pay quarter two.
Yep.
Right. But then they've switched it to monthly. You're going to get another bill at the end of January.
Yeah, yeah.
Which then has to be paid, let's say, potentially by the end of February. So basically you got a quarter, 4 months.
Yep. Yeah.
Oof. I know one of the biggest things that I was told by my accountant and bookkeeper. I said, just have another account.
100%. Yeah.
Put the GST.
Yep.
Because then I got employees. Put the tax
All their
away.
tax
Put
away.
the super away
Yeah.
because you got to pay the super too.
It's not your money.
No.
And that's the hardest thing is often the amount of money that you should have aside. When you add up like payroll tax not payroll tax, but like employees tax, their super, your tax, your super, the GST, and then potentially like company income tax, like that amount of money is huge. And if you just have it left sat in your main like operating account, you could at any one time, probably half the money in your operating account should be sat in a tax account. So then you kind of go and spend it, get new cars, go and get new equipment for the office, whatever you need. And you've actually gone and spent money that wasn't even yours in the first place. That's where people get themselves in a lot of trouble with the tax office.
And just like what you say, just simple setup.
Yeah.
Main trading account.
Yep.
I put the minimum that I need in there. Stayed
Yep.
out. I mean, I don't have any expense. And then any big expenses and the rest of it's just in a high interest bearing account.
Yeah.
And then I've got another one with the GST tax.
Yeah.
Super.
I mean, that's the exact structure like that we tell all of our clients. Operations account, tax and super account, and we call it a surplus account. And the operations account, ideally you want about 3 months of business overheads in there. Anything extra gets dumped in your surplus, and then you make sure you've got your money in your tax and your super account.
Yep.
Some people have got like 10, 20 accounts, all these like sub accounts. It's like you've overcomplicated it
When you can't
for a
even
small business. You don't need it
How
like
do you
that.
manage that and you can't even do your zero file?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way you're managing all that. I think back
it's
to what
too
you
much.
said.
Yeah,
Keep
you
it
want
simple.
to keep it simple. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, look, I mean, that just narrows it. And that's a really good example of an industry that I do see quite a bit of. I do deal with a lot of builders, people that want to do projects. I'm dealing with a guy that does projects now.
Yeah.
2022 was good profit, took on another project, obviously made a loss in 23 while that project was going, sold that project, made a big profit. But what he's done, his accountant's given him great advice. I think this is the saving grace. The net profit from 2024 has gone and repaid the loss in 2020.
Oh, yeah, the carryback.
Yep. And then he's now on a net asset, and he's made good profit.
Yep.
Right.
It's just the timing of it.
Yeah, but now if I have to submit that to a bank, I can't just submit that set of financials to the bank.
Yeah.
I've got to I'm showing 3 years financials, telling them what he does, what it is with why is the income like this?
Yep.
And he's onto it. He's got every bit of information I've asked him. He's done, and his accountant's brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's just the power of having someone there. And his accountant's always not a yes guy.
Yeah.
Great. Annoying sometimes, but I just need you to say this because here is where I'm looking at. He goes, I can't say that because of this, and this, but I can say this. Gives me a solution.
Exactly.
And I just work with the solution, and we work together. I said, this is my interpretation of what's happened. It's like a lengthy, lengthy. And he goes, that's brilliant. Just add this, this, and this. I'm like, great.
Yeah. So
now I've got the backing.
Yeah.
Right. So again, that's another guy in the construction. Well, he's not but he's in development, right?
Yeah.
So
I
very
think
lumpy.
that's like a lot of business owners, they do get frustrated when they know they're making money. They know they're going to make more money and they just get no's over and over again by the banks because they're not with the right type of broker to actually understand what they're doing and take the time to look into the numbers and figure out how's this all come about. Because otherwise imagine how hard that is for them. They're trying to grow their business and they often will want to need more money, whether that's to, buy investments or do developments for the construction stuff, and they can't do it.
Yeah, and only one other thing that I sort of see quite often is just overcomplication, just like you're overcomplicating structures and why you're just running this business. Why do you need to go through 5 trusts?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to achieve? At the end of the day, it's still literally still the same net outcome.
The same, yeah, that's exactly
You just
right.
tried to filter it through and be smart.
Yeah.
But it's actually going to cause you issues when you go to lend money. because we literally and this is one of the key things. If you're running profit or splitting dividends out through to other companies, I have to see everything, and so will the bank.
Yeah.
You can't hide things.
Yeah.
Right, and especially don't hide things from your broker, because they're the. I'm here to hear the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know. I
100%.
have to know, because it's my reputation on the line. It's your accountant's reputation on the line as well.
Yeah.
Because who's the bank going to come to for verification?
Exactly.
Not the
right.
broker.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to get an accountant's letter.
Yeah.
And the accountant's going to have to say certain things on that letter.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Before we finish off, I mean, this has been great. It's a great conversation. I hope people get a lot out of it. Just need to say a disclaimer, right?
Oh, yeah.
All this information is not advice.
Yeah.
Very general in nature, doesn't take into consideration any of your personal circumstances.
Yeah. Oh, there's too many moving parts. Like everyone's, got bits and pieces that needs to be addressed for the certain situation.
Oh,
but
100%.
doesn't mean we can't give general advice.
No, exactly. Yeah. But I want to get something from you for the viewers. What are your top 3 tips for business owners for 2025, moving into the 2026 financial year, right?
Yeah. I think number 1 would be spend the time to just sit and understand what your business is costing you to run it. Even if you were like, I made no money, what is it just to even open the doors and start trading? What does that cost you? So many people have no idea. And that is like a crucial number, I think, before you can even start understanding what do I need to be doing in sales. So many people, they focus on their sales and they could be making, $1 million in sales, but it doesn't matter. If you've got no profit, who cares? So know your expenses. Second thing, which you've touched on a lot, is have a really good network of people around you. That's going to push your business forward, whether it's through referral stuff or just having other people to bounce ideas off. That'll really help a lot, especially for new business owners. And number 3, I think for me personally, a routine and having a really good schedule helps me just get a heap more done and be more productive and effective in the work that I do. And I think everyone should have a good routine and a good structure to their week every week.
And that doesn't just go for work. Like that's like
everything.
Personal, friends and family, relationships, community, and just yourself. I think there's a lot of time where I think as a business owner, I actually had a really good talk about this yesterday at my networking group. You're just so wrapped up in the business, but you forget the business doesn't run without you.
Yeah.
You actually need to take the time to recharge and connect back with yourself. Obviously, there's like spiritual, emotional, physical level to be able
to give the business what it needs. Yes.
And also, but not only that, to give stuff outside the business the attention it needs.
Yeah.
Single dad, I've got a daughter. Like,
if you're thinking about work 24/7,
you're on your phone.
You're never present.
How easy? How many people are on their phone?
Yeah.
Your child's trying to give you attention. Just put the phone away. So one of my goals for this year, it was to spend quality time with my daughter with no phones, no electronics, no nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, we could watch TV. We could watch a TV show together, but there's no iPad, there's no phone. It's away. Like every day, 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
Whether it's like just talking, chatting, having dinner together, TV's not on during dinner, just having or making a meal. It's really important. I actually felt that's grounded me.
Yeah.
As a business owner.
And 1 hour a day, like who can't? That's 1 hour. Like everyone can find 1 hour a day.
If you want to go do work, put them to bed, go back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes that's what I do. But the weekends, when I have her on the weekends, I very rarely do any work. I just get it done during the week.
Yeah.
So important,
100%.
Yeah. One of my tips, though, for if you're self-employed, get a good accountant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I know a few. So if people wanted to get a hold of you, how do we get a hold of you?
Instagram, I guess. We got an Instagram page, Third Space HQ. And my email is Megan, MEGAN, at thirdspacehq.com.
Cool. And you're on LinkedIn.
Google us. Yeah, we're on the internet everywhere. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there today. If you did get any bit of information or you feel that this information is relevant to someone in your network, pass it on. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Like, follow, subscribe. Again, you're helping small business in Australia. Again, that's the only thing I ask. I don't pay for any advertising or anything like that on the show. It's free education. You can find me on Instagram at Dion Finance Specialist, on LinkedIn, Dion Fernandez. You can also go on the Emerge website to see our greater team, www.emergefinance.com.au. And see you guys all on the next episode. Thanks for coming.
thank you.